Hello, testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. There we go. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Tony.
Yes.
Hi, I'm sorry about that delay. Hey, there you are again.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Hi.
Is
Good to
that
see you. Hi.
is that your office?
Yes, this is the office.
And that's
How
in
do I describe it? It's the
uh,
office. It's different from the view of the last time, right?
yes, yes. Where was the last time? Outside your home?
Yes, I was at home in the office at home the last time.
Ah, okay. So
Mhm.
you are in Akure, yes?
Yes, in Mafon precisely. So there's this community called in Mafon. That's where we are at.
Imafon. Uh-huh. Which
Yes.
is which is near Akure.
Yeah, not quite far from Akure. Yes, it's in
Oh,
Akure, right? It's more or less like Akure North. You know, the different local government area of the state, right?
I
So
see.
this is in Akure, northern part of Ondo State. I mean to say.
Of Ondo states. I've never
Yes,
been to Nigeria, not yet,
but
but
you're still going to come because
one
we're going to force you to come. In fact, I'm going to pull you to come, not we. I'm going to practically find a way to get you to come because it would be nice to have you around.
it's
There's
a
a lot
deal.
to see.
It's a deal. Let's do it. Let's do it. You
All
tell me.
right, cool.
All
Yeah.
right. Agreed. Agreed. That'd be awesome. I love that. Because by now I've worked with several different Nigerian clients. So of course I'd be happy to see the work that you do and help you bring it to life if I can,
Mhm.
offer some trainings and all that, workshops.
Yeah, that would be lovely.
Yeah.
Because I mean, today we're all just looking forward to learning a lot around communication. So I was having a conversation with the team, and we are just hungry. Like, what can we do, not just for Durian, but also brand identity, individual brand identity, and then how
Yes.
that is also going to affect the organization, and all of that. So we are eager to learn. So it would be nice to have you come around
Okay.
because that would be like a good space for you to also see,
Yeah.
like you say, no, show me, not just talk, not just tell, right? Show, not
That's
tell.
just show, not
And
tell. That's right.
yeah,
We're on the
to be a
same
good
page with
place.
that point too.
Hey.
So, Tony, do you want to introduce me to who else is on the call today?
All right. If everyone can just quickly open their cameras or put on their cameras or
I'd be
unlock their
happy if you
cameras.
keep the cameras on. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All
Like
right, just keep your
real
cameras on.
dialogue.
While Michael and Emmanuel are still struggling to fix their phones, let's
Okay.
just hold on.
Yeah.
Every other person put on the camera. Becky, where are you? Put on your camera. Shefumi, put on your camera. Faith, Tomiwa, put on your camera. I think one more person. Okay, so we have every other person together with Shefumi. So you have 3 people with Shefumi. With that's Becky. Then Tomiwa, your camera, please put it on. That is Tomiwa. All right. I'm sure you must have met with Tomiwa before, but again, this is Tomiwa, the second time you're seeing him again.
Yes.
All
Good.
right. So I introduce everyone, or let's do it this way. Everyone introduce yourself.
Okay.
Let's go from around.
And also the role that you play within the organization would be great too. Thank you.
All right. The floor is yours, everyone. Take turns, however you choose to take turns, but let's make it fast.
That's very democratic of you. You may have to choose which one goes next.
Why? Guys, come on. Let's do the way we do it. You know the way we do it. Let's go.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
Hello.
My name is Michael. I'm the Monitoring and Evaluation Officer for Durian, Nigeria.
Cool. Thank you.
Emmanuel.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
My name is Emmanuel.
Emmanuel.
Okay.
I'm the program management in Bamboo units.
In the Bamboo unit, in Bamboo Village.
Yes, it was around the space, yes.
Cool.
Let's go to the group where you have Shefumi, Onye, and Divine.
My name is Oluwa Shefumi. I'm a volunteer.
Thank you. And who else?
What?
Yeah. My name is Divine.
Hello. Are you also volunteers, the two of you?
Nope.
No? What role do you play within the organization?
Okay, so she works in communication. So do you know about the national service scheme we do in Nigeria, the National Youth Service Scheme?
No.
So we have this National Youth Service Scheme. After the university, everyone is mandated to have 1 year of service. And within this 1 year of service, the country, the body organizing that, we then send you to any organization to go and serve.
Oh.
And they're often called core members. So we call them core members or corpers, as we call them. So Onye and Divine are core members that are attached to work with us. Onye works in programs, general programs. She functions generally. She's like an associate, right? She's almost everywhere. And then Divine is attached to communications. Onye is been with us for a while now. Divine just joined. This is our first week in the office. So we're still getting to everything that is going on.
I see. So this is 1 year service, and does the government pay? Is it a paid assignment, or at least pay for housing or something? Or
housing? I don't know if they pay for housing. Do they pay for your housing? You pay for? I don't think they pay for the housing, but of course they do pay for the service. Just a stipend. It's not like payment, right? It's a stipend, and then whatever organizations they are attached to can also offer stipends.
Okay, not a bad idea. But
yeah, it is not.
That's another subject.
Sometimes it's not interesting, but sometimes it's interesting.
Okay. Next.
So you can mute your mic if you are done talking in the group of shifting, because they're almost in the same room. So just sharing devices.
Okay.
So the echo. Becky.
Good afternoon or good morning. My name is Becky Etsubi, and I manage communications and the fashion unit at Durian.
Thank you. It was a little tough to understand through the microphone, though. You were a little muffled somehow. It wasn't so clear. Tony, did you hear it clearly?
I did a bit, but I think can you take off the mic and then speak directly?
Can you hear me now?
That's better. That's better. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so my name is Becky. I manage communications and vocation for Durian. Thank you.
So communication, I understand, but what does vocation mean within the organization?
It's a day-to-day happening in the vocation space.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
The vocation space is the fashion villa, the fashion, the skincare, and the tailoring. That's the fashion, skincare, and one thing, and the bamboo villa, sorry.
And the bamboo. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Next.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
Yeah, so my name is Tomiwa. We've met once.
Yeah.
I think you took us on Saturday at We Aspire. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So We Aspire.
All right. So I'm the newly appointed youth programs officer. So it's my first week here as well. So
cool. Good to hear. Nice to see you again then. Good. Anyone else?
No, so we have 2 people who are not on this call, and it's for some certain reasons, because we're onboarding a few more people, but because they're not done with the processes, we can't have them in this meeting currently. So this is all of us right now that will be on the call. I think we're about 7. Yes.
Good. No worries. We're recording this this video, and I can send you a link to it too if you want to show it to them. Okay.
Okay.
Or if anyone here wants to watch it over and over again, if you're having difficulty sleeping, maybe it'll help put you to sleep, that sort of thing. Okay.
Not that boring. Come on, Mike.
So should we dive right in, or do you want to tell me? Well, you gave an opening comment to me. I don't know if everyone heard, even just to remind the group as to what you're really interested in and what sort of assistance you'd like and why, what the organization wants and needs and why. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much, Michael. It's an honor to have you. I've met with you once, and that was like one of the most defining moments for me with regards to communications. I was talking to my team today about how stiff I have been with regards to brand representation and thought leadership. And then
Stiff.
just speaking stiff. Yeah, I'm
In
a
what
bit
way?
very.
In what way?
Oh, if you ask Becky, Becky will tell you how much of hell I put her through with regards to content, because sometimes she's trying to get me to do content and I'm just not really interested in it. But after the call we had,
Yeah.
which is just a few weeks back, I'm breaking my brain somewhere. I'm just breaking free to ensure that I'm open to having to create content that matter, you know, and it's just the ideology of show me, not tell me, you know, just that ideology that we need to do more of the visuals and show people what we are doing. And as a result of that first conversation, and this is a background for every other person on the call, as a result of that first conversation, that has led us to this. So Michael proposed that it can also guide the whole organization on communications. And so while we're thinking through this, we were thinking about it from brand, because it's going to take us through our brand again, because the first time it showed me the gaps we have in our brand. And I'm glad the communications crew are here. They can also see the gaps that we can feel.
Yep.
But not also the brand, but also like thought leadership, also around individual brand representation and how it affects the organization. Because the organization cannot function off itself without the people. The people also contribute to it. So if we as individuals within the organization are not also contributing to representing the brand the way we are thinking about representing it right now, going on from those moments, then it might not work. Because at the end of the day, most of our profiles are going to read working as Durian. And if we're working at Durian and we're not talking about the work that we're doing at Durian, then the scope that Durian can reach will just be the limits at which we know, you know, because we don't know each other's network. We don't know who that volunteers that might come on board. We don't know anything except we continue to share about our work. So we want to learn about that. Then the first one is Durian as a brand positioning, individual brand positioning. Then learn more about writing, for instance. You gave me already nuggets on how well to write, what the headline should look like, our impact stories. You already told me, but it would be nice for everyone also to learn that. And then generally, maybe any feedback or comments that you might have that you just discovered again about the organization or something that is a gap that might we need to fill that might be useful to us. Thank you so much, Michael.
That's great. That's great. And so just to clarify that when you talk about individually / professionally, you're saying that with each member being on LinkedIn, for example, to be able to talk about Durian and the work that you do, so that each one of you becomes almost like an ambassador for the organization, helping to promote the work that you do by talking about the work that you do, right? To expand, to help raise awareness throughout your individual networks, right? More than just saying, I work for this organization, but somehow, you know, also I work on behalf of this issue and this cause to help raise awareness of rural development or the need for more effective rural development strategies and solutions, that sort of thing. I'm sorry, what were we going to say, Tony?
No, I said that's right. That's right. What you said is exactly that.
Good. And one other thing, going back to what you said initially, if I recall correctly, was that that's when you talked about becoming less stiff. That, as I recall, you were also a bit more humble and modest about not wanting to talk too much about myself or achievements and all that. And I said, actually, it is very interesting because there's a fine line between bragging and showing off, let's say, thinking that, oh, I'm a humble, modest person, right? I don't want to brag too much about myself. There's a fine line between that and just talking about the facts. If we are, as an organization, impactful, that's not bragging. That's stating a fact, okay? But then the key is, do we have the evidence, and I'll use that word over and over again, evidence, to prove that we are as good as we claim to be. And if we do have that, then we should more confidently state those things. And that is not bragging. We are good at this, and we are good at that. Is that a fact or is that an opinion? Right? If we have evidence, then that becomes a fact. It's not just, oh, really, you say you're so good at what you do. If you have the evidence, then it becomes a fact, not an opinion. Okay. But the key is to have that evidence to support whatever we're going to say, whatever we're going to claim or assert, that sort of thing. Okay. So let's dive into it. Okay. Because in that case, I'll present this as a let's say two-part training. Okay. First, talking about overall the need to improve our strategic communications, thinking through who exactly the audience is, what who our target is, why they are our target, what we want to say to our target, what we want to communicate, and why we want to communicate that, and then how we want to communicate it. So from an organizational standpoint, but then I'll shift to the brand building. I mean, all what I just referred to is brand building, but then also developing thought leadership individually and professionally, how to start to express our own opinions, our own analysis. Okay. So that if I understand Tony correctly, so that it's not, so the first part of the training is to prove that we are who we say we are, and that we're doing what we say we do, and that we are as good as we say we are, as good as we claim to be. But then the second part with developing our thought leadership is also, hey, we are also, not only are we good at what we do, okay, but we are also at the forefront. We're at the frontier of rural development, okay? And if we say something, others should listen to us because we have now serious experience on the front lines of Nigerian rural development. In fact, you could even start to make the argument, we're on the front lines of African rural developments, okay? And how to do that, but again, to support that with evidence, okay? And soon, I think if you take certain steps to make that argument, okay, not only are we as good as we claim to be, but we're also on the cutting edge, on the frontier, or I use the military term, on the front lines, okay, at the forefront of this issue, then I could imagine Tony and others being invited to different conferences, okay, whether it's nationwide or regionally or UN conferences. Hey, we're going to have a conference on global rural development. Of course, we want some African representation. Who exactly is, which organizations, who's on the front lines? Oh, we see lots of organizations, lots of names, but some of them may be lying. Some of them may be exaggerating. Some of them may claim to be on the front lines, but not really on the front lines. So then that could be, and even should be, an objective is, hey, we want to be able to speak as a voice from the front lines of Nigerian and African rural development, okay? But our words are not enough. We need to be able to prove that we're actually on the front lines and having positive impact. Because even bigger picture for Tony and the organization is if you guys actually are impactful and you've come across some solutions that work, you can actually, in theory, become a model for others. Hey, I heard there's this organization in Nigeria, in provincial Nigeria, Durian, which is not just doing good work, but they have enough experience. They see what hasn't worked and why. They see what, more importantly, what works and why. Maybe we can adopt their model. If it works there, maybe we can adopt it in our country, our province, whatever, of course, with our own local conditions, but they have a solution that works. So that's something I think is a great mission to aspire toward. You know, again, I myself have never been to Nigeria, right? So I haven't seen your organization on the ground. In many ways, I'm relying on you, even trusting you based on getting to know Tony a bit and the organization, okay? So I'm not about to say Durian's doing a great job. I don't know yet that you're doing a great job, okay? I'm just saying that if you have the evidence, then show me, don't just tell me, or show your audience, don't just tell your audience, okay? Any questions about that? Because Faith, yeah, because I want you all to know that I'm not just here to talk, but I would like to, I'm here for you guys. So tell me if you have any questions or comments, please go ahead.
From my end, no questions yet. I'm just looking forward to again dive deeper into it.
Okay.
And it's about showing, right? And then that is the thing. And exactly what you said, you don't know about the organization. You only know us based on what I have said and what I know that we have done.
Yeah.
But that is limited between what I say, between me and you, which might not be public. And so how to put that public again is something that we're open to learning, because there's a limit to the content we even have about the organization that is online. And then prior to this conversation, the first conversation we had, you mentioned something about it being like a jury, like we're in court, right?
Yes.
And we have to showcase we have to put a point across.
Yes.
That says why we are the ones who are the forefront of rural development. Why should someone listen to us and all of that? So it'll be interesting to just dive deep a little more.
Yeah,
maybe from there we have conversations.
Okay, let me. I mean, I'll get to it, but since you brought it up right now, I might as well make that case right now, which is, you know, even if you're sitting there thinking, okay, I see what Tony wants, I see what Michael means and all that, but why, even bigger picture, why does this matter? Is because, as I'll show you, I believe it also will determine whether you're able to attract donations, greater financial support, and your position, your job there may rely on your ability to prove that you guys are actually as impactful as you claim to be, okay? Because, I mean, I'll talk about, again, who exactly the target audience is, but this sort of evidence will be necessary to help persuade donors when they're thinking about whom to give money to. And so and so as I told Tony, I said that part of the work we do, one reason why I enjoy this challenge is because on the one hand, it's detective work. Okay, within your organization, you guys need to do detective work to identify something happened here. Okay, almost like a scene of a crime, that there's yellow tape around a body. Something happened here, okay? And it could be we're having positive impacts, okay? But we need to prove that, okay, for a faraway audience that maybe has never been to Nigeria, okay, never been to Imafon or Akure, okay? So we have to prove, how do we identify these pieces of evidence and bring it to life, okay? Bring it to light, bring it to life, okay? To unearth the pieces of evidence. And as I told her then, so on the one hand, it's detective work, but on the other hand, it's also lawyerly work, like a lawyer, as if you're entering a court of law, okay? And in this court of law is a judge and a jury, and the judge and jury could be the donors, for example, okay? The donors say, go ahead, prove to us, right? And you say, okay, you go in there as a lawyer, you say, Your Honor, my client is innocent. What? It's not enough to trust my face or to trust my words? What? You need evidence? Yes, of course. We need concrete, specific, credible, meaning believable, even verifiable, that can be proven evidence. And so that's why when you enter this court of law to persuade a judge and a jury, you would say, Your Honor, my client is innocent. Here's Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit C. You have that concrete, credible, believable evidence to persuade the judge and jury, okay? That's what you meant, Tony, right? That example of, and that's ultimately what your goal is going to be, is we need to persuade our audience, okay? A smart audience, but skeptical. They're not just going to take our word for it, okay? They're not just going to just believe us because they have a good heart and we have a nice and honest face here, okay? It's not going to be enough, okay? They need concrete evidence. So let me dive in, because now I'm jumping ahead, but you're getting the idea what I mean, okay? Here I came up with, I have a PowerPoint here. So you see, I call this training, Prove Your Impact. And I put an exclamation point there because now I'm like shouting it. Hey, you better prove your impact, okay? Prove your impact, skills, strategies, and storytelling to overcome donor skepticism, okay? They're not going to believe instinctively, okay? And build your brand, because if you can prove these things, then it will build your brand as being a reliable, trustworthy organization, okay? We can believe that this organization, Durian, is doing what they say they're doing, okay? And actually are good at it, okay? So the way I usually just, oh, well, by the way, I should mention one thing before I dive in, okay? Just a little bit about my background, okay? Which is that my background is as an international journalist, as a foreign correspondent. I was a freelance foreign correspondent for 20 years, okay? Mostly in Central and Eastern Europe. I lived in Budapest, Hungary for 6 years, then Bratislava, Slovakia, both of them in Central Europe, for 5 years, writing for various Western and American newspapers and magazines, okay? Then over the years, I also began teaching. So I was a visiting professor of international journalism. And from Central Europe, I actually moved to Africa following my wife, who's now my ex-wife, but we also had 3 kids. So I followed her to Southern Africa, Lesotho. We lived in Lesotho for 4 years, the Kingdom of Lesotho, high in the mountains of Southern Africa, from 2011 to 2015. And so it was there that I actually branched from journalism and teaching journalism into, I applied all my international journalism skills, strategies, and storytelling to global communications while living in Lesotho. And I'll mention an example here later in the training of then how I applied all that to global communications. And much of what you hear today is actually coming from my journalism background, okay, as an international journalism and international storyteller, okay? And then I also, from Southern Africa, then I lived in Beijing, China for 5 years. So I'm coming to you as a global communications specialist who, and as an American who's been fortunate enough to have lived on 4 continents, okay? So when I'm speaking to you as well, I'm trying to connect the dots based on what I've seen, not just in the US, but in Europe, Africa, and in Asia, okay? Within my experience over the past now 30 years, okay? So that's the bigger picture. And especially as I'm talking, even though I haven't been to Nigeria, I've traveled extensively throughout Southern Africa, at least, and quite a bit in Eastern Africa, okay? In East Africa, I should say. So anyway, I forgot to mention that nowadays, also to let you know, that nowadays I'm here in New York. This is my home office in New York City. And I'm now focusing on, because my experience in Africa, in Lesotho, was so powerful for me, that that's why nowadays one of my specialties, one of my focal areas as a global communications consultant is Africa. So I'm working with several African organizations, including the way Tony found me was because I'm working as global communications advisor for a Nigerian women's NGO in Abuja, and that's called Tech Her Africa, and they provide training, digital literacy, financial literacy skills to rural Nigerian women. Okay, Tech Her Africa, you can find online, but so I'm already working for a Nigerian NGO, and so that's how we connected, Tony and I, through LinkedIn. Okay, so anyway, back to the talk, okay, which is big picture. Okay, nowadays, as you know, you guys are all on your phones or on your laptops. So we're now swimming, nowadays we're swimming in a sea of brands, okay? And every brand, as you know, every brand says that they are the best or at least wonderful, okay? You hear that, hey, buy this phone, this smartphone, this iPhone, whatever it may be. And of course, they're going to say, we are the best one out there, okay? But of course, not every product, not every brand is the best one out there, but they all have a self-interest in saying that they are. Even across the street from me here in New York City, there's a pizzeria that says, New York's best pizza. And I say, well, according to whom? Who says that you're the best, okay? Every organization and every professional, me as a consultant, if you say, Michael, are you good at what you do? I'm probably not going to say, I'm so-so at what I do, right? Or Durian, are you guys good at what you do? We're kind of mediocre, okay? Sometimes we're good, sometimes we're not so good. Every organization, every company, every government agency, every individual professional has a self-interest in presenting themselves as good at what they do. Our job, though, as consumers, is to weed out who's really telling the truth, who's better than others, okay? And this becomes a question of what we call media literacy, okay? That we become more literate in terms of identifying who's telling the truth and who's lying, who's exaggerating, who's trying to trick us, mislead us, even harm us into believing that they're real, but they're not real, okay? That they're doing good, but they're not. They just want to harm us somehow, take our money somehow, otherwise trick us in some way, okay? So we all need to become smarter in terms of how we consume all this content regarding these brands, okay? And that leads to you guys, of course, which is, hey, we are a brand. Durian is a brand out there. And of course, we want, when we say we're good, we want our audience to believe that we're good. How can we do that? We must prove it, okay, with evidence. So you'll see I have quite a few PowerPoint tiles here that sometimes run quite long. I know that they shouldn't be so long, but usually I just want to get down all my thoughts, okay? So, but I'm repeating much of what I said, that because there are so many liars, scammers, exaggerators out there, everyone has a powerful self-interest to say we're the best, okay? And I want you guys to know, I mentioned this already, but this is really one of the core elements of this talk today, which is that you all face two main challenges, okay? When Tony, just imagine, when Tony approached me on LinkedIn, through LinkedIn, okay? I said, Tony Joy, I don't know who she is. She represents an organization called, allegedly, she says she represents an organization called Durian. Have I ever heard of it? No, okay? And I believe it or not, every day on LinkedIn, I get at least one bogus, scamish approach on LinkedIn, okay? So I see Tony approaches me, and I don't know if she's telling the truth or not, okay? That's why I say, but then I went through her website or her platform, and I began to believe, okay, step by step, because here, as I say here in the middle, two challenges. We all face two challenges, especially for those of you young folks who are now building up your LinkedIn. Maybe you haven't done it yet, or you're now new to LinkedIn. You must prove that you are exactly who you say you are as an individual professional, okay? But also as an organization. Prove that I am who I say I am and that I'm doing what I say I'm doing. And you may say, Michael, how do I do that? Well, with evidence. What do I mean by that? Hey, you know what? Later today, maybe as you're leaving the office there, if you haven't already, take your phone, okay? Go to the front door or wherever there's a sign of Durian, okay, hanging from the building, and take a selfie of yourself with Durian in the background, okay? That's just one piece of visual evidence, okay? And then you could write on LinkedIn, I'm so happy to have spent my first week here. For those of you who are new, I'm so happy to now be on board with the Durian or nonprofit here in Akure and Imafon, now focused on rural development, okay? And there's a sign in the background. Of course, you could be lying, okay? You could still be lying. But the point is, is that you're going to build up a foundation piece by piece of evidence, okay, to start to persuade your audience that you are really who you say you are and doing what you say you're doing. Next time you go out into the field to Bamboo Village, okay, for example, to a training, okay, you say, you know what, let's get photos of our women. Let's get a photo, if you don't mind, Tony, of me with the women in the background, because I got to build up my own brand, my own identity to prove I really am who I say I am and doing what I say I'm doing. Okay, Tony, this is related to what you were saying too. Like, hey, if you want your entire staff to become like mini ambassadors, hey, you're representing the organization. You're also out there on the front lines of rural development, each of you individually, then start to show yourself. Show, not just tell. Like in your description, I do rural development in Nigeria. Not enough. Show us, especially with visual evidence and then some words to support that, what you're doing. Today, I was delighted to help lead a training for these rural Nigerian women on this or that, okay? On souvenir production or soap production, skincare production, whatever it may be. You see what I mean, guys? Okay? Visual evidence. And if you look at my LinkedIn, you'll see a lot of evidence, a combination of visual, okay? Because then I'm always taking these selfies wherever I go, whomever I meet, almost always. I'm like, hey, I need some evidence to prove, because I understand that my audience, they're not sheep-like, okay? That leads to before I get to that. So as you see here, the two main challenges: prove you are who you say you are and doing what you say you do. But then even more challenging is to prove that we are exactly as good as we claim to be. That's even more difficult. It's one thing to say, hey, we had a training, but was the training effective? Did the training make a difference in the lives of any of the women who attended? They may have been daydreaming. They may have been on their phone playing games. You know, who knows what is the true impact of a training? So we're going to talk about that too, how to prove that these trainings and workshops and other programs and initiatives are actually impactful, making a difference in the lives of the people you're trying to help, the beneficiaries, okay? So, but we're still talking about even audience psychology, okay? And how to reach and engage with our audience, how to impact our audience, okay? And as I've learned, I gave that little introduction about myself, that I've been fortunate enough to have lived on 4 continents around the world. And one thing I've learned from all my travels and work experiences is that in the world today, there are basically 2 kinds of audiences, okay? It's not unique to Africa or to China or to the US. One audience are sheep-like. I know it's a little harsh to say, but what I mean by sheep-like, meaning just following blindly, okay? Following a leader, a shepherd, someone who talks nicely, or, you know, like someone charismatic, just following blindly. If you tell them this is the best phone, they're gonna, I heard that's the best phone. They said it's the best phone. I'll buy that. That's the best phone. Unthinking, okay? Right? Or if you say, Durian, we're doing great work. Hey, they say they're doing great work. Okay, they're not thinking enough. And frankly, they may be some of our family members, friends. With all due respect, we may still love them, but we know they're a little sheep-like in the way they follow unthinkingly, okay? Now, just to let you know, you could create content aimed at sheep where you say we're the best, but that is not sustainable. That's not long-lasting, because eventually, if you trick people often enough, then they may realize, hey, I keep getting tricked by that person, okay? They're treating me disrespectfully, treating my intelligence disrespectfully, because then there's the other audience on the right-hand side here, the critical thinkers. This is a statue of the thinker. Critical thinkers, okay, who stroke their chin. And when they hear words from you, they're going to say, oh, really? That's interesting, but why should I believe you? Okay? They're going to be skeptical. And there's a difference between being suspicious and skeptical. Suspicious, like, I don't believe anyone or anything. No, skeptical is, In this case, we're hoping for an audience that is still open-minded. You say, Durian says that you're doing meaningful work on the front lines of rural development in Nigeria. Prove it to me. They're stroking their chin thoughtfully, okay? But they are going to demand more than just words. They're going to demand proof and evidence, okay? That lawyerly argument, that detective work that I mentioned before, okay? Any questions about that so far? Please let me know, okay? If there's anything that is unclear or that you want to follow up on, okay? I'm here for you. Shall I continue?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I often talk about this principle of show, don't tell. You know, who exactly is our target audience? Oh, by the way, so let's say our target audience ultimately are donors, okay? I'm talking about the content on your website, just to be clear. Of course, when you go into villages, your target audience may be the women themselves. Maybe you want to attract more women, convince more women to join you. Maybe they themselves are skeptical. Why should I, you guys sound, you guys are offering nice, sweet words, but why should I believe you? Why should I join your organization? Why should I come to your training? That's one thing, okay? In this situation, I mean, you would need evidence for them too, to persuade them why it's to their benefit, okay? Even in their self-interest to join you, right? They would also need some evidence. But in this situation, I'm talking about your website, your social media channels, the content that you put out there, okay? I can only imagine that your main audience ultimately is, you know what, we need money to survive. We need money to continue with our programs, maybe to broaden our reach, maybe to deepen our impact. We need financial support, okay? And that's a nice high-level audience to aim for, okay? So this audience, we should assume, like the critical thinkers, it starts with having respect for the intellect of our audience. They're not dummies. They're not sheep, okay? So we assume that they're smart enough, okay? That they're curious about what we do. Why? Why are they curious? Maybe because they work for an organization or a company or a foundation with money, okay? You're approaching, I assume, organizations, applying for grants, applying for support. The organization has money. They're prepared to give money to Africa, to African organizations, to African pro-women organization, pro-rural development, anti-poverty. There are different organizations with money, okay? So they're smart, they're curious to learn, maybe they care already, they have a heart, okay? But also they're smart enough that they are skeptical, okay? And I use that word all the time, skepticism and skeptical, right? And so I want you to visualize that whenever you meet a stranger, there's always a wall of some suspicion. Who is this? You're approached on the street. Hey, you want to sign this? Hey, you want to give to that? It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Who are you? What do you want? Why? How do I know you're real or not? So there's always a wall of suspicion between us. And then the challenge is how to lower that wall of suspicion and build a bridge of trust, okay? Maybe even today, when Tony said, oh, you guys are going to meet with Michael Jordan. Maybe you guys, the basketball player? No, not that Michael Jordan. This communications guy. Oh, really? What are we going to learn from him? Maybe you were skeptical, okay? And maybe because Tony introduced me, maybe that helps lower the wall a little bit. Okay, I trust Tony. And if Tony says he's a good guy or that he's able to help, okay, the wall lowers a little bit of trust. You hear me talk, maybe the wall lowers a bit more. The bridge gradually, step by step, strengthens a bit, okay? Like when I said I lived in Africa, hey, he actually lived in Africa. Maybe he knows a little something about our background, our context, even though if I've never been to Nigeria, okay? So the point is visualizing. Guys, this is really very important, okay? To also be able to visualize who exactly your target audience is, okay? Because if tomorrow Tony or on your team says, hey guys, let's put this online, let's put this on our website, on our social media and all that, okay? And you just put it out there, okay? You're firing blindly. I'm not a violent guy, but I often use like bullet references. You're firing bullets, you're firing ammunition of words, but blindly, okay? And so when you fire blindly, you're going to be inaccurate, okay? So it's always important to try to visualize as clearly as possible who exactly is our target audience, okay? Why are they our target audience? What are they looking for from us? And why are they looking for that? And then how can we give them what they want, okay? So if we're thinking through, if I were a donor, I mean, imagine yourself. If you had $1 million to give to organizations, to African organizations, not for yourself and your family, no, $1 million to give, you wouldn't just throw it here, throw it there. You'd say, you know what? If I've got $1 million to give, I only want to give to organizations that are deserving, that are actually doing something good, okay? And I'm not just going to be, oh, you're doing good? Here's money. You're doing good? Here's money. No, you probably would not be such a fool. You would say, hey, prove to me that you're actually doing good and that I'd be happy to give some of this $1 million that I have, okay? You see what I mean? And in fact, I'll talk about this quite a bit. What I just described for you, I gave you an example. I've never actually given that example before, but I like it. I may have to use it moving forward, is if you had $1 million to give, okay? What that is, by the way, is empathy, okay? And EQ, not IQ, but EQ, emotional quotient, emotional skills, which is, just to clarify, because I always tell my students and younger colleagues, I say, the difference between empathy and sympathy, okay, is, let's say later today, leaving Durian, you see a woman, a mother pushing her child in a wheelchair, okay, on the streets of Imafan, of Akure, what have you. You may feel simply that, oh my gosh, that looks sad, that looks difficult, that's heartbreaking to see a child in a wheelchair their entire life, and a mother with the child. That's sympathy, that you have a heart and you show some compassion, some caring. Empathy, though, is even if you're not a woman, if you're a male, you can still have empathy, where then you're thinking, wow, imagine if I were that mother, if I were in her shoes, okay? And every day pushing my child in a wheelchair, seeing other little kids running around, playing, laughing, okay? And imagine if your child couldn't be like that. What sadness I would feel, what sadness she must feel on a day-to-day basis. That's empathy, okay? And empathy is such an important part of strategic communications, okay? Because in this situation, we're not just saying, hey, we want to reach a donor, okay? Empathy is, well, if we were in the donor's shoes, the content we're talking about, the story we're talking about sharing, would it hit the target? We want to touch the donor's heart and mind, okay? And our donor is smart, but they're skeptical. They're not going to automatically believe us. So what the content we're about to create, is it persuasive enough to hit that target? That should be your standard, okay? That we know that they are smart. We have respect for them. They're not sheep-like. So we need to, as I often say, work hard. We need to work hard to make sure that we identify this evidence, unearth it, digging it out, pulling out of the earth, unearth the evidence, then somehow illuminate, bring light onto that evidence, even bring it to life. Okay, and I'll show you on your website different ways to do that. I saw some examples how to do that. Okay, but these are some really important principles I want you guys to understand. Okay, do you guys? So now do you understand what I mean by empathy and why that's important? please let me know, okay, if you have any questions, all right? Now, I call all this content creation, I call it strategic storytelling, okay? Not just storytelling. Hey, guys, let's tell some stories about the women we're helping, about the communities we're helping. No, I call it strategic storytelling. Meaning, as you see, MJ, that's me, my own definition, storytelling for a purpose, okay? Because why? Because we have a strategic objective, which is to persuade our target audience of donors that we're actually doing good. We're actually making a difference in the lives of real Nigerian women, real Nigerian families, okay? So, especially when we are under pressure, our organization is under pressure to show our results, to show our impact, okay? And then, as I say, a key component of this content is, I often will repeat this, concrete, meaning specific, credible, meaning believable, verifiable, meaning it can be proven, okay? Evidence. And when I say that last part, presented transparently, okay? Do you guys all know what a hyperlink is? Okay. Hyperlink, meaning that one thing I saw that your website needs many more of is that when you say we're making great progress, okay, or we're having great impact in some of our rural communities, you need to have that hyperlink where you insert that link to your evidence, okay? So that the reader, the audience can click on it right away that, hey, I'm being transparent. I'm not hiding anything from you. Whatever I say, I'm going to support with evidence, with proof, okay? And so if you look at any of my content, whenever I write anything, I always insert quite a few hyperlinks, okay? Even let's say later today or tomorrow, when I write about this training, and I say that I spoke with this organization, Durian, I'm going to put a hyperlink under Durian so that if someone wants to click, they'll go straight to Durian. If I say Durian was founded by Tony Joy, hyperlink under Tony Joy so they can click under and they'll go to Tony Joy's LinkedIn platform and see her where it says founder of Durian and all that. Meaning whatever I say, I want to be able to prove. Okay, so you can verify, you can confirm that my audience can confirm for itself. Okay, you see what I mean? Okay, so we talked a bit about this. You know, why do we need this strategic storytelling, which is really to overcome that skepticism, okay, to win over our audience and to prove that we're not lying, to prove that it's not disinformation, okay? So we talked quite a bit about this. Core takeaways, strategic communications, empathy, show, don't tell, smart but skeptical. And as I'm trying to do with this last line is, you know, I'm trying to demystify the whole process, remove the mystery. You know what? I don't want to talk too much about how I learned these skills, okay? You see me there with there in the middle as a young journalist, okay? That was me in a white shirt long ago, 25. You don't see, Tony? Are you trying to figure out which one is me? I had long hair back then. So let's say moving on. But this is where I got my start in Hungary and Central Europe. My father, that's where my father was born and raised. This is my very first story. All right, I should move on because we got much more interesting stuff to talk about, okay? But I will talk about one thing I do want to share with you is one of my strategies, okay, that I learned as a young journalist, okay? And I want you guys to think through as well, all right? So back when I was a young journalist, all I wanted to do was to write stories, to travel to write stories, someone to pay me to travel to write stories, and then someone to pay me ultimately to travel and for the stories that we would publish. I wanted to be a paid traveling journalist, okay, international journalist, all right? And what I realized is, whew, I've got two audiences. I've got two target audiences. First of all, the editors of these newspapers and magazines, okay? And they were the gatekeepers They said, we're not just going to publish any stories in our newspaper or magazine, okay? They have to be of a certain standard. And I began to think through, what kind of stories do they want? The stories must be either two things, either interesting to the reader or important to their reader. Sounds easy enough, but then to think through, why exactly would they find this story interesting? Why exactly would they find that story important? So then I realized there's a second target audience, of course, are the readers. I need to give the readers a reason to read. And if I can give a strong reason for the readers to read and consume, then I'm also persuading the editor that, yes, I think our readers would be interested in that story. So I had two target audiences that I had to learn how to overcome, how to push the right button. Okay, in just a moment, I'll explain how that applies to you guys. So then I thought through into one circle, and you guys can discuss this around a conference room table. What's our self-interest? My self-interest back then was I want to sell my ideas, sell my stories, get published, get paid, travel for free, make the boss happy. In this case, the boss was my editor, okay? In your case, it would be the donor, make the donor happy, let's say, not just make Tony happy, but make the donor happy. And then you see below, climb the career ladder, okay? Ultimately was my self-interest. But I'm not, back then I was young and more self-absorbed, thinking about me. But I thought, to be smart, I need to start to develop some skills of empathy. So this is my self-interest, but what's the editor's self-interest, the target audience's self-interest, or in your case, the donor's self-interest? So then I began to think through, like, wait a minute. They want stories, all right? They want top quality stories for their smart, curious audience that they will read or watch or listen to, okay? What kind of stories? Well, they also want stories that their own journalists around the world can't reach, okay? Or haven't yet produced. So there were opportunities for me to fill in the gaps, okay? Right? And then I realized that my circle and their circle overlaps. Okay. And as you see, that's why I call it the intersection of self-interest, because then I realized, hey, we have similar self-interest right here. So can I learn to push the right button? And then I learned, if you look down at the bottom here, that I learned that the stories, again, as I said, to push the right button, I must show the editor, not tell, but show that the stories are either interesting or important to the readers, or even ideally both interesting and important, okay? And then I also learned that, well, not only to be successful, not only do I need to sell my idea, but once I convince them that here's what I want to do, I need to learn to deliver. I need to execute and deliver on my promises, like you guys. If you say, hey, we've got great ideas for this program, that project, this initiative, okay, here's money. Well, now there's pressure on you to deliver on your promises, especially if you hope to get more money from that organization in the future. And likewise for me, if I want more assignments, I needed to learn to deliver, okay? And so here's how it applies to you, okay? There's our organizational self-interest, and for you to discuss amongst yourselves, what's our interest here is to prove we are who we say we are, and doing what we say we do, prove we are as good and impactful as we claim. And our goal is also to impact more people. Our goal is also to attract more funds to impact more people, okay? Then, all right, but it's not just us, me, but also them. So let's think about the donor or the partner. If you're approaching partners, new partners or existing partners, what's their self-interest, okay? They, just imagining, they may want to contribute to credible, believable organizations that actually have capacity, have enough of a staff, and that are actually on the front lines. You say you're in rural development, prove that you're in rural development, right? But also the organization may need to publicly prove to the public or to the government or other shareholders, stakeholders, consumers, clients, or whatever, that we're actually doing some good. We're actually supporting impactful organizations and causes, okay? And ultimately, they may be looking to create a win-win. Hey, we donate money to you, we help you do what you do, but this also makes us look good that we are giving money to impactful organizations, so we are impactful donors, okay? And then, as you see, also similar, there's some overlap, some intersection of self-interest. So how to push the right button is your challenge, all right? And as I wrote down below, both sides have a need to persuasively convince a skeptical audience. You need to, and they need to. And an impact, I'll talk about this. An impact story can be a win-win that proves impact for both sides, okay? I'm sorry, I should have chosen to change the title here because I just gave the talk on Saturday, but for We Aspire. So I talked about this, how to do this. The key is to show, don't tell with credible evidence. Okay, now you see the importance. One more thing I want to share with you, okay? Because I know I'm talking for a while and there's more to cover. Sorry about that, okay? Thank you for your patience. Is I also came up with this 4-step formula that, again, when you guys are sitting around the conference room table or in the office talking about this, to consider these 4 steps. We already talked about the who, okay? I call it the who, what, why, how formula, okay? We already discussed the who. So now we have identified our target audience and why exactly they are our target audience. Then next, what exactly do we want to say about this program or about the organization, this person? What do we want to say? What point do we want to make? What arguments do we want to make? What idea are we proposing? What message are we delivering directly to the heart and mind of our target audience, okay? Or what story do you want to tell? That's the what. Ooh. But now the more difficult step is not just to say, hey, let's write this, hey, let's say that, but to justify and defend it. Why exactly do we want to say this? Why exactly make this point? Why do we think it'll hit the target? Okay, again, we have in mind, we can visualize now the target. Why exactly share this story or make that argument or deliver that message, okay? But now also with the empathy, here's what we want to say, and here's why we want to say it. And now hopefully you start to develop the skill where then someone says to you, hey, let's do this. And you say, but why? Why do we think that would work? Why do we think that would hit the target? We see who our audience is. Why do we think that will hit the target? So I came up with, if you look at number 3, I came up with a filter. It's very difficult to do because this is critical thinking skills by us. Let's think through. Here's what we want to say and why we want to say it, but will it really hit the target? Okay. So here's how we answer that question is, my audience should find this content or message interesting or persuasive or valuable, whatever it is, comma, because why? Finish that sentence. Next time one of you guys comes up with an idea, hey, Tony, I think we should do this. Don't wait for her to say, why do you think that idea would work? You say, hey, Tony, I think we should do this, comma, because it'll work. I believe it'll work because of reasons X, Y, Z. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, right? Or I think we should tell the donor this and that, comma, because I think it'll hit the target because it shows our evidence, it shows our impact, it does this, it does that, okay? So to think through, to defend and justify, this is critical thinking argument, lawyerly argument, because then the 4th step, once you've convinced Tony that you have a good idea, okay, for a piece of content or for a new program, then her sense of, okay, you've persuaded me, you've convinced me, all right? So how do you think we should do it? Or how do you think we should create this content, okay? So how exactly now, to bring it to life, to make a point or an argument, okay? How exactly do you want to propose this idea? Deliver the message? How exactly do you want to tell a story, create this content? And what I mean is with which facts or evidence or details, examples, anecdotes, meaning like mini stories, or insights, your analysis, what photos, maybe videos, what graphics, what visuals, okay? That sort of thing, all right? Any questions, by the way? Am I going a little too long? No? Just keep talking, Michael. Go ahead. Exhaust yourself. Keep going. All right.
Okay, that's the thought. So we're just listening and I think taking in as much as we can.
Yeah.
And before we get into the conversation. Yeah, it's a lot, but we'll take it in first.
Yes.
Yeah, with you 100%. So please go ahead.
Okay. So one of the keys to this effective communications, to strategic communications, is to also think through what I call a core message, okay? And just to talk about that for a moment, all right? Which is a core message, meaning that if you're creating, as you're creating content, okay, for a target audience, and you think, wait, what's the one thing? I do it backward, okay? It's to say, okay, what do we want to say and why? But I often will do it backward, which is, look, if we're going to create a 2-minute, 3-minute, 5-minute video, or we're going to write up someone's story, okay? Yes, we hope that they remember everything. And as I say at the top of this slide, when I was a young journalist and I would work on a story for hours or days or weeks, okay, I would hope, I dreamt that the audience would remember every word because I worked so hard on it and I thought it was so important. I wanted to change the world, okay? And then I realized that's totally unrealistic, okay? And I realized, you know what? I should be thankful. I should hope that they remember one core thing about what I just wrote, okay? Meaning, if you guys last night watched a movie and I said, hey, what was the movie about? You might say, oh, it was a story of a father and son and their tension, but also their deep love for each other, okay? Okay, now I understand. Thank you. One sentence can describe the essence of what that movie was about, okay? So now with this content, if we're creating content, the idea is, hey, if we're going to tell a story online or create content online, and if they're only going to remember one thing about this content, the donor, let's say, what's the one thing that we hope they will remember? Okay? And if we agree, yes, we like that core message, then let's now take that, like, and are they going to remember this 1 day later, 1 week later? And we agree, yes, we want them to remember that. Then let's take that and use that from the beginning. If this is the one thing we want them to remember, let's make that the foundation of our content. Okay, that should be the heart of the content or the spine of the content. We want that message to come through. Okay, let's say for your women, the women whom you're helping, okay, with the women we're helping and we're teaching them certain skills, we're enabling them to make money. What does that mean, enabling them to make money? Maybe it means that before they had so little money that their kids couldn't go to school because they couldn't afford school fees or school uniform or shoes or books or a book bag or whatever it may be, okay? Maybe because the child was so hungry they couldn't focus on their studies, but their growling stomachs. Okay, I saw this in Lesotho, right? So what does that mean? Hey, we've been able to, we've given some of these women the skills to earn more money. But what does that do? That helps raise the standard of living, the quality of life. Wow, now I can pay for my child to go to school with a new pair of shoes, uniform, school bag, books. And what does that mean? Now suddenly my children have a brighter future. Before, the future looked very bleak, very dark for them. Now suddenly I hope that now they go to university and can do this with their lives and do that with their lives. What does that mean ultimately? I believe the big picture of what you're aiming to do, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is also to help break the cycle of poverty. Okay? If it's in your communities, if it's in Africa itself, many organizations like yours or Tech Her Africa in Abuja, ultimately, is part of the long-term goal is, you know, if enough of these women start to earn more money, then they can lift up their entire community and maybe even break the cycle of poverty within that community. Okay, so maybe that's a core message, okay, that we are arming these women with skills that then enable them to lift their families out of poverty, lift their communities out of poverty, and make a difference, okay, in the future of their children. Okay, what do you think about that? Is that wrong? Is that accurate? Is it partially accurate?
It's accurate. It's accurate because that's like part of economic empowerment is key. So because and why we're doing that is because there's already a gap, and we see that people need the knowledge, skills, and also income, or the knowledge and skills to generate income. But for some people, they also need the income to be able to scale what they're already doing. You know, so that's true. That's important for us.
Good, good. So in that case, okay, we say, hey, let's tell Mary's story. Mary's got a great story. Ultimately, what's her story about? Hey, now she's making more money. All right, but whoa. That's great. That's nice. That's important. But big picture, what is that truly achieving? Hey, step by step, she is now suddenly giving her children a brighter future. Okay, lifting her family out of this condition, this very difficult and breaking perhaps. She grew up in poverty or she was struggling in poverty. And now because of these skills and this income that she's earning, we're making a difference. Aha, let's make that the core message, okay? Let's show we're having that kind of impact on these women, on these individuals, okay? I talked about why empathy and EQ matter, the need for context. You know, very, very quickly, let me just tell this quick story, or as quickly as I can. I'm about to share with you the strategy for how to tell individual stories, what I call impact stories on individuals, okay? About individuals. And I want to tell you how I learned this. It was in Lesotho. You see this woman here? This, you know, the dominant tribe in Lesotho are the Basotho people. So this woman is an individual, a Mosotho, is a member of the Basotho, okay? So I was living there for 4 years in Lesotho, and one of the most meaningful, impactful assignments in my life was when an American nonprofit hired me to, they had a 5-year program for HIV orphans and their caregivers, okay? Because HIV is such a serious issue in Lesotho, that Lesotho suffers from back then it was the world's 3rd highest rate of HIV infection. So it was all around us, okay? And this organization had a 5-year program, and they said, Michael, we need assistance, we need your help to help prove our impact after 5 years working with HIV orphans and caregivers. So they paid me to travel. I took 2 trips up into the mountains, 2 one-week trips, in which I interviewed 24 HIV orphans and caregivers, their beneficiaries of their programs, okay? And for each of these people, I shot their photo, okay? This is my photo. I shot their photos, I interviewed them, then went back home. So I learned about their story, I interviewed them, went back home, and then wrote up their stories, okay? And so all 24 stories were then published in this digital ebook, okay? Voices from the Mountains of Lesotho with my photos, okay? And so what I want to share though is this methodology. I learned a method. I created my own method for how to tell the stories, and I want to share that with you, okay? Which is that, and I took this photo too. So this woman, what's interesting about this story was that this woman and her husband, they already had 3 children, okay? But then the husband became infected by HIV, okay? And he infected his wife. How? With unprotected sex. Unfortunately, this is one of the most common ways of transmission from one person to the other is unprotected sex. So he infected his wife with HIV, okay? So both parents, but the 3 kids HIV negative, and they wanted to have a 4th child. They loved their kids and they wanted to have a 4th child, but they were afraid of having an HIV positive baby, because that's another very common way is mother to child transmission, giving birth to an HIV positive baby, right? So the last thing they wanted, now with HIV is you can still live the rest of your life, but on medication, daily medication. So they wanted to avoid that burden. Both of them were on medication every day, but they didn't want to give birth to a baby who would then also be on medication the rest of their lives, okay? So this was a challenge they faced. And one day, this American organization came up into their village and met at the health clinic and announced to all the women and girls, teenage girls, hey, come to our training, come to our workshop at the health clinic. We want to talk about how to avoid having HIV positive babies, okay? Right? So, but at the same time, in these villages were also their own doctors. They're witch doctors, they're healers, okay? And as you can imagine, some of these communities are very traditional and conservative, and they believe their own people, not what foreigners, not what outsiders are telling them, okay? But for some reason, this woman decided, you know what? I heard there's a training at the health clinic. I'm going to come down from the mountains to the health clinic and listen to what they say. She went to the training. She began to earn trust or began to believe them. Okay. They earned her trust. And they said, what we need you to do, you're on the meds. Let's test your status, your HIV status. Let's get you on the meds. We want you to come back here once a month for health checkups. And if you do this, if you do that, boom, 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 we believe you will give birth to an HIV negative baby. She said, okay, I will trust you. She did as she was told, and she gave birth to an HIV positive woman, gave birth to an HIV negative baby, okay? And what I realized from this, I developed this method that I want to share with you, okay? I call it the fork in the road, okay? Every day of our lives, we face different decisions, okay? Tonight, do I want rice or do I want pizza? That's a simple decision, okay? Do I go to the left or to the right? In this situation, you guys face maybe new members if you're trying to attract more women to come. Should I join this organization or not? Should I attend this training or not? All right, a fork in the road. So what I realized was that the way to tell the story is first, for all your women, okay, or all the people you're training, first, describe their life before. The story is simply before and after. Describe what their life was like before, okay? And then they say, oh, my life was very hard. And you're like, she says her life was very hard. But what does that mean to an American, let's say in New York, a donor in New York, London, Paris, Berlin? They've never been to Nigeria, but they have money. They care. They want to give to an organization. So you say, okay, we need to describe, we need to bring to life. Well, how hard was your life? Can you please describe? Because we're not writing these stories for other Nigerians. When you say life is hard in Nigeria, maybe all Nigerians, yeah, we know what you mean because we're here. We're talking about for an international audience, right? So can you describe for me how difficult or how hard your life was before? For example, not enough food, no electricity, not this, not that, no employment opportunities except to do this or to do that, okay? So you're describing the life before, okay? You see at the bottom of the arrow there, what exactly was their life like before? Why exactly was their life like this? Have them paint a picture with their words to describe visually, but colorfully what the life was like. So even someone like Michael in New York can start to visualize what the life was like for them, okay? Then they're living their difficult lives, right? And then they hit a fork in the road. There's a knock on the door, as I often say, a knock on the door that somehow they hear about Durian. They hear about a Durian training, workshop, meeting. Maybe it's from a neighbor. Maybe it's from a friend, a colleague, a family member who said, hey, you know what? There's a meeting tomorrow night in this and that village. You should go. They're offering different trainings. Really? Why should I do it? Can I believe them? Who are they? Okay. Why should I? They face a choice. They could ignore. They say, nah, I don't need any help. I don't want any help. I don't trust them. And they go to the left. And you could ask them, hey, if you never come to Durian, if you never come to one of our trainings or workshops, what would your life be like today? Oof. I would still be in a very difficult situation. My kids would still be hungry and still without education, and maybe the cycle of poverty might have continued for my kids. Okay, so they describe. But then you say, so why did you, when there was this knock on the door, when you heard about Durian, why did you decide to come to our training or our workshop? What convinced you to try it? Well, I was so desperate, I thought maybe if anyone can help me, why not? Let me try. Okay. Or I trust my neighbor, I trust my friend, and they said you should try it. I believe them, and so I tried. Okay. This is part of the storytelling. Okay. This is like a little Hollywood film, some drama involved. Okay. So then there's that intervention, the knock on the door, and then what you're asking, and then what happened, and then what happened. So then I went to the training. Can you describe what the training was like? Yes, they did this, they did that, they told us this and that. And then what happened? Then I went back home and I told my husband, or I told my kids, and I started, and then they said, come back for these skills, for these trainings, and then. So now, as you see, to illuminate, to bring to light the intervention, the influence, but especially the impact, okay? And then she learned these skills, and then she began to earn money, and then began to earn more money, save more money. She began to buy better quality food. Then she could afford school fees. Then she bought them their first pair of shoes in X number of years, and a nice book bag and uniform, school uniform, whatever it may be. Okay. And now she's leading a group. She became a trainer. Now this woman who was so desperate before is now leading others, right? And before she had her hand out, her self-esteem was in a bad situation. And now she's also become more confident. And now she's leading others. And she's a respected member of her own community. So it could also be psychologically, emotional, not just how Durian has impacted her financially, right? And so that is, I believe, how to show, not tell, an impact story on a real person. You see what I mean? Okay, as a piece of evidence. And here's one thing I want to show you too. I want to jump ahead. I could talk about Tech for Africa, but I've been talking way too much now. I want to jump ahead just to your website. Okay. I saw these testimonials. Okay. Each of these testimonials, first of all, a testimonial. I don't know what happened with this. Why there's a yellow line on all these slides. Something happened. I need to remove the yellow line. Sorry about that. But each of these testimonials could be turned into an impact story. Okay? It's like I'm looking at like this one. Ogunleya. Okay, I came to Durian to learn and gain many things. I now know about chicken and turkey and how to use the waste to make organic fertilizer, right? I learned how to participate, how to do business, make a profit. I learned also how to make black soaps, and I enjoyed it. Now you could follow my method. You go back, Ogunleya. What was your life like before? Okay, I'm not sure if it's a man or a woman. Is it a woman? She describes, okay? I mean, all that she's describing right now is very superficial, just on the surface, okay? It's only scratching the surface of what Durian has done and the real impact, okay? Now, when you get these testimonials, you'll realize the goal is not to ask just, so what did you think of Durian? Oh, it's wonderful. I learned this. I learned that. It's great. God bless you. That's not enough. Okay? No, no, no. We need to reveal the real impact, the deeper impact in her life, how we've changed her life, made a difference in her life. So describe what your life was like before, and then what? And then the first training was about chicken and turkey and how to turn to organic fertilizer. And what did you do? Then I began to make that fertilizer. And then what? I began to sell that fertilizer. And then what? I began to earn money from that. And then, you see what I mean? Now and I made more money, and suddenly I was able to buy this and buy that and lift up my family. Okay. You see what I mean? And then what? Then I was like, oh, this is going so well. Let me also learn about soaps. Okay. And then this and then that. And now I'm doing this and that. And suddenly she's being lifted up. And that's an impact story. You see what I mean, guys? Now, one thing I got to explain, though, am I going the right direction? Wait. Hold on. Now here's what I want to show you too. What's very important is that when you're creating the impact story, okay, it's one thing if you look on the left-hand side, that's a simple feature. Hey, we're going to tell Mary's story about how we took her from here and lifted her to there. That's a simple feature, okay? You've touched how many, Tony? How many women have you trained over the years?
We're counting close to 3,000 so far over the years, over 3,000.
How many would you say you've actually impacted, positively impacted?
So the number that is impacted is 3,000. If it's just general scale, how many people have we reached is over 30,000.
Oh,
But the
okay.
direct people that we can speak with and talk to, and it cuts across women, not just women, so women and people in the community that we can actually lay our hands on. They are about 3,000.
Good.
Across, we had 6 communities before, but now from last year, we started counting 12 to 13 communities.
Good. So what I want to explain to you, guys, what I'm explaining to you right now, I'm not suggesting that you need 3,000 of these stories. Like, hey, guys, go out and tell the story of all these women. Because here's a technique that what you can do is you can tell Mary's story, but recognize that with Mary, you can say, hey, of course, everyone is unique in their own way, special and unique in their own way. But Mary's story, is her story truly unique, or is it part of a broader pattern or trend? And you can say, actually, we've helped hundreds of women like that who went from having very little, living in a very difficult situation, to now having something, okay, and really changing the lives of themselves and their children and all that, right? So then we recognize we can open the story up, or then we can open with Mary, right? When Mary was young, she did this, or then she came across Durian, and now she's at this, okay? Tell it briefly, but then you say, and Mary is not alone. Mary is one of 3,000 women whom Durian has trained and positively impacted. So now, in theory, one woman's story can open a window onto all the women you've positively reached and impacted. You see what I mean? Okay, it's possible to do that, as I call it, to connect dots between one person, but then to recognize, no, she's part of a trend, part of a pattern. There are other Marys out there. Okay, you see what I mean? And that's why then you could start to identify, hey, we help women in terms of technology. We need one woman to tell the story of technology, but to open a window that, she symbolizes actually the trainings we give, okay, in terms of technology, in terms of health, in terms of education, or in terms of recycling waste. We need to show that. So not tell that. Let's find one story and tell that story as a symbolic example of, she's just one example of hundreds now working to recycle waste. Okay? You see what I mean? Because then you can be strategic, picking and choosing. You could tell 3 or 4 or 5, 6 of these stories to tell the story of all the work that you guys do. You see what I mean? Oof, what do you think?
I am going to open it up to others to talk about what they think, especially those in communications. Becky, what do you think?
Yeah, I think um there's need for more. I think that's what I'm writing down actually. There's need for more personal stories for us anyway, rather than generalization for now. So that's what I think.
Do you see what I mean in terms of how to bring to life, how to identify the impact, and now also to look at your trainees, your beneficiaries, as also pieces of evidence. That's what they are, okay? Pieces of evidence of your impact. Okay, and that they symbolize that piece of evidence. So even as part of your communication efforts, like, hey, we need to build a stronger argument, lawyerly argument. Let's now, our next training, let's think, the past is the past. We can still identify and tell stories of our past impact, because you could look back at some of the women you helped. Tony, how many years has the when did you found it again?
2016. We started working community in 2016, but we roughly started in 2015. But the real working community when we entered was in 2016.
Okay, you know what? What I would start to plan now, we're in mid-October. That means that next year is a 10-year anniversary, right? In theory, of your very first programs, right? So thinking to 2025, you could say, you know what? Let's try to find even some of our earliest members, let's say. And if you know of some positive stories, that 10 years later, we're able to tell the story of how we had positive impact on a couple members 10 years ago, okay? To bring to light the work, okay? But again, to think strategically, what stories do we want to tell and why? That they serve a purpose, okay? Because we're applying for donations from this organization. They're looking for this and that. So let's show that. Let's match up our storytelling with the donors we're approaching. Okay, but moving forward, at least, guys, I hope that you'll take to heart some of these strategies. Like, okay, moving forward, we want to post about our trainings on LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever, but let's also really focus on showing these things as pieces of evidence of our impacts. Okay? All right. By the way, just to let you know, if you were to go to Tech Her Africa, okay, I mentioned before, now they have our impact at the top, you see? And for those of you working on the website, I think you need a new category, our impact, okay? And that will be your code word for our evidence, okay? And then when you, so if you were to go there now, you'll see that we have stories of impact. I then led a writing workshop with several of their members, okay? Including their founder, that's Imade, okay? She was a member of the writing team too. And so as you see here, that leading our team to create this content was our global communications advisor and writing coach, okay? So now they have a page which they will hopefully be adding to. And these are some of the stories that we created together, okay? Queen's story, again, to open a window. Mary's story to open a window onto their programs, onto the 4,000 women. And if you read the beginning, like this is a great one, Mary, okay? I'm just using the example of Mary, that she was a widow, okay? In need, handout, need for some assistance, right? And now, after these digital literacy and technology trainings, now she's leading other widows. That's evidence of impact, okay? Imagine that evolution for her, that she went from needing help to now she's leading others, other widows, okay? So, but I want to shoot, there's still stuff to cover. Look, even look at your homepage, just very, very quickly, okay? Because I want to get to the thought leadership and all that. We are creating, what I would do, once you start to create this concrete, credible evidence of your impact, what I would do is, we are creating rural communities of the future, circular, creative, empowered by rural women. Second sentence, for evidence of our impact, click here, right there, okay? That then there's a link that jumps to your impact page. No BS, okay? We're not bluffing. We're not exaggerating. Right there on the home page, because you know readers may bounce if they don't believe you, if they're confused, if they don't trust and all that. So right there, I would hopefully that you would say, don't take our word for it. Words are cheap, maybe empty, okay? Click right here and we will start to show you the evidence with the very first, on the very first homepage, okay? You see what I mean, guys? Okay? Now, jumping ahead to your thought leadership, if I may, okay? Oh, where did I have? Wait. Okay, in terms of your brand building, okay? And thought leadership. Hold on. Sorry. No. Where did it go? Sorry, hold on, please. Okay, here. Okay. I wanted to share one more thing with you. I know this is running very late. I'm sorry, okay? But as I said before, in terms of brand building, but I didn't mention this. I see 4 different forms of content for you guys, okay? On the one hand, there's the basic proof, like I said, photos, and this could be you and your LinkedIn platform. This is the organization itself. Documents, or to document, I should say, to document that you are and do what you say, both written and photographic evidence. That's essential. That's basic stuff, okay? Then what I call an origins. Oh, I see that the room is emptying out. I'm going too long. I know. But anyway, I'm almost finished, guys. All right. Then there's the origin story. One thing I told Tony is that you guys need an origin story for your website, but you can also use one personally, which is for you to describe, to tell the story, how and why you came to work for a rural development organization. Each of you, if each of you now sets a goal of, I want to show that I'm an ambassador, not just for the organization, but even for rural development, okay? I want to share my own impact story, my own journey. Here was my life before, okay? And to show, if you say, for example, I grew up in rural Nigeria. I saw the difficulties for my family and for others, okay? So I've always cared about how difficult the lives were for individuals and for communities. And I thought as I was growing up, that maybe your parents taught you to care about others and to do something meaningful with your life. Or maybe it was at university, or you met a friend who said, hey, we can join this organization. Maybe it came from you. I always wanted to make a difference, okay? So then you start to talk about your own origin story. Then I studied it at university, or then I met Tony and I believed in her and how inspired she motivated me to join. And then I did this, then I did that. So your own origin story, as I said here, to chronicle your own relevant backstory, where your journey begins, how exactly it evolved up to today. That's a nice foundational story. When you put on your LinkedIn platform that I'm a rural development specialist, okay? I'm specializing in African rural development, okay, for Durian, whatever it is, programming, rural development programming. You could have that in your bio, okay, or you can have a separate piece. I'm going to tell my story of how and why I became inspired and continued to be motivated to work in rural development in Nigeria, in Africa, that sort of thing, okay? Then there's the impact story, which I mentioned, okay, which is part of your brand building, evidence-driven content to prove your input, your impact, describing the situation before your intervention, involvement, then after, okay? But now I want to get to thought leadership, to showcase, to spotlight your own thoughts, ideas, opinions, analysis, insights, experience, commentary, okay? And with this, you could link to any current trend, article, report, or news events, okay? What I would do, just very quickly, just to let you guys know, okay? And Tony, this goes back to what you were saying too. What I would do is I would gather around the conference room table, talk about brand building. How exactly do we want to build our brand? In which direction? Why that way? But now individually as professionals, how exactly do we want to develop our thought leadership? Why that way? Okay. But now, again, we don't want just words. We want evidence. So what evidence do we have to prove our brand or thought leadership? Looking at what already exists, what evidence, how to bring it to light. But then moving forward, what evidence do we need to prove our brand or thought leadership? Moving forward, there are ways to, as I call it, create facts on the ground moving forward to create this, okay? And here's what you could do, Tony and the team. For example, you could say, hey, first week of every month on our website. Now, not only do we have our impact, maybe you'll create a new category, Tony, called Our View or Our Opinion. Maybe Our View, Our Opinion, okay? That then it could be that, hey, once a month, we want to talk about our greatest lesson learned. Look at the bottom here. One of the greatest lesson learned we learned about rural development. It could be from a failure that you had. We learned a very harsh lesson this month when XYZ program initiative failed. But here's what we learned from that experience moving forward. But also, of course, you can talk about your successes. The point is, Tony, and the team, is to prove, like I said, to prove you're actually on the front lines and doing impactful work. But even better, okay, look at what I said here, a few lines up. You start to join LinkedIn groups, okay, like involved with international development, rural development, okay? People are going to be commenting. People are going to be posting articles and reports. So you could say, hey, we're going to assign someone to, with some regularity, be responding. So suddenly they see Durian. Who's Durian? And they start to see that, hey, it's this NGO in Nigeria. They have a voice, okay? More than that, with your once a month pieces, you could start to follow relevant organizations or think tanks or magazines, publications. For example, hey, the World Bank just came out with a new report on rural development in Africa. We want to write about that. Why? Because we're on the front lines and we've got an opinion. We can either agree with what they say or we can disagree with what they say, or partially agree, partially disagree. But then connecting the dots between we are on the ground. So when we read that study, we're going to share our thoughts in it. We're going to refer to that study, that report, and we're going to share our own experiences, our own analysis and opinions. And then step by step, you'll start to be recognized as someone not only on the front lines of the issue, but with something to say about it, okay? That, hey, Nigeria, there's this organization, okay, that's building up, that has evidence to prove their impact, right? And that they have really valuable experience here worth sharing with others, with a broader audience. What do you guys think about that?
Floor is open. Anyone can talk, because I hope you're not waiting for me to say something, right? So everybody, you can unmute your mic and say something if you want to. What do you think about the steps? And then what do you think about your own contribution in terms of thought leadership and how we can position Durian to at least achieve goals. Today, we're talking about a few goals, so we could actually even use a few of them as examples already. Thank you.
Do you guys see what I mean in terms of how to start to, you know, like spread your wings? And this also comes down to being confident. Hey, you know what? I've now worked here for some months, some years. I've got opinions about rural development, about the challenges of rural development, how to overcome challenges, what worked. Hey, I think we have a solution. We should talk about that. We should share that with others, but support it with evidence. You see what I mean? Okay, so you can start to, you know, what is thought leadership? It's like, it means when someone's got something to say and other people are listening. Okay, they are a leader because of their thoughts and ideas and opinions and all that. Okay, so what do you think? Are you guys feeling a
I
little?
think that's a good.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
please.
I said I think that's a good idea because me, I'm just trying to rearrange my brain and just imagine how it's work. But I'm following actually.
What do you mean rearrange your brain in terms of what?
You know, it's like for the project we have had, I do edit some of the videos. So now for some of it, or maybe some things that Tony have said during those meetings, those projects, I'm not thinking of, oh, okay, for every video evidence, let me call it that, I put out there, I need to be more to personalize it, to bring out those thought pieces and let it be more focused on the people rather than the event. I don't know if you get it.
Yes, yes. But to also dig deeper, to really say how, you know, like even, for example, just to give you an example, even this training, okay? If I were curious about my own impact, right? I would wonder whether when we finish this session, would any of you guys then go back home or go back to the office and say, okay, we're going to implement some of these things Michael discussed, or we're just going to ignore what he said. Who cares? You know, it was interesting, but it doesn't work for us. Okay. So what you're talking about is you go to a training or workshop, you're trying to capture with video and all that, but the real key is once they leave the training or the workshop, does it make any difference in their lives? Will they apply anything that they learned to their real life? Right? Or it's like, thank you for the training, and nothing changes for them. Versus, no, I want to identify what, if anything, really changed for them, to personalize it, but to really identify evidence of real impact. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
To be really strategic about it. You know, moving forward at some point, we could then organize a writing workshop, because I know all this is very theoretical and abstract. Yeah, do this, do that. And you're like, but how exactly do we do that? Okay, I understand. I'm prepared to help further demystify the process. If you say, Michael, we need an origin story, we need a few impact stories, even, you know, we need to start writing a couple pieces to start to develop our thought leadership. We can talk about me leading a writing workshop. Okay. Moving forward.
Okay, well, I don't know where we are moving to this time, though. Moving
What do you
forward.
mean? What do you mean?
Okay. So, in my view, I think we need to do a lot more on writing and how we write, because I think there's a difference. Because I was listening to you talk about your core message and all of that, and I have a couple of questions which I might not be able to ask now because, I mean, it's late evening in the office here, right? And so the weather. So if there's no electricity, some places are going to be looking dark, you know,
Okay.
some of the halls and all of that. So
Okay.
I could have asked some questions, but we could move that to hopefully when we have the writing workshop, which will be specific for those who are doing the writing, right? So we'd have the writers in the team, and then we have a communications intern who works remotely. So we can have all the people that are doing the writing to the workshop and any other staff member who is interested. And then we can then start asking critical questions. Because for me, there are different views to, writing. And, there's a group of people that say that start with why. Okay, and that is a thought process separately. There's a group of people listening to you. Keep your core message at the central part, right? Talk about your impact. And then, so it's like two conflicting ideologies, right? And I would probably, but not now. So those are questions I probably want to ask, because how then do we tell the right story? And this is withdrawing from your experiences. So we probably will move that completely to the writing workshop, because that's when we can ask these critical questions. I think generally one of the big things that I hope that everyone in the call on this meeting has gained is more about just the brand identity itself. How am I attached to the brand, and what stories do I tell? And just the simple things, basic things. For example, what you said about just take a picture in front of the signpost that has Durian and all of that. Just simple things matter. And I think that's one of the biggest things I'm picking from these, that very simple things actually matter. And then it goes a long way in showing what we are doing.
Yeah.
All right. If we have a training today, we just did the training, and we've been doing training for the past 1 week. And that's why we couldn't have this last week, because we had training in the office. Today we had a program that was amazing. We just finished a planning meeting where we're talking about the project that we're going to also do in December. We have people on this call who are leading the project. Like every day something is going on.
Yeah.
And because we don't talk much about it, I think that's why we're not well positioned. We really don't talk much about what we want to do, what we have done, where we are going, what we want to achieve, where are we, so we don't really do so much of that. And I hope that this has been able to just really help us think through that and say, why are we not doing it, right? And if we want to do it, why is it important for us to do it? What's the message that the donors want to hear? Even if it's not just the donors, because we also want volunteers, for instance. We want partners, for instance. What are the messages that we need to put out that would reach these people?
Yes.
As against just putting out messages, because sometimes we're just happy to put out the message, but the message might not reach any audience. It might not even be reaching out to the right people, and we're just putting it out because it is fancy, but it's not important. If from what you are saying, so that is good to also learn, and then would sit with the company. We definitely would have a meeting on branding, and to just know how to meet the right people. There are a few people we want to meet right now, and that we've not met, because we have a project in December. We have different projects to still go this year. We do not know them, but the question for us probably would be, and that's for Becky and every other person on the team, how do we use this tool right now that we have in our hands? How do we use it to reach out to the people that we want to hear about the work that we're doing? Yes. We're planning a Rural Got Talent in December, and we need certain people to be on the panel, and we need people who are talented to actually be on the panel. These guys spend a lot of time on the media and all of that. How do we use our influence, or what we're already getting right now, the knowledge and the influence and the impact of the work that we're doing? How do we use it to reach out to these people? How do we connect with them? How do we use the concept of thought leadership, consistently talking about the things that we're doing on different other people's platform that are related to the work that we're doing? How do we use it to attract the right audience? So we have a whole lot to talk about. And Michael, you've shared a lot, honestly. And that's why I guess Becky said we are rearranging something, because where we are and where we are going is a bit far.
Yeah.
But we can then take out a lot of time to learn from you, and then fast track that process. Because with what you are saying, it means we can fast track the process. We can work on our website, change a few things here and there to help us achieve what we want to achieve. So that's the part from my hand.
Yeah. I mean, at least moving forward, at least to be more strategic, like, okay. Yes. That now we have a second chance moving forward. There's going to be lots of opportunities. But for example, just in listening to you, Tony, I came up with this idea just popped into mind. If you think to yourself as a team, hey, we need more funding for this program, whatever the program is. Okay. Let's say Bamboo Village, let's say, okay. We want more money to broaden and deepen our reach with Bamboo Village. We see the potential, right? And you say, hey, can you give us money to support our Bamboo Village? Versus, you know what? Let's tell the story. Let's show, we don't just give the sausage, here's the product. Let's show how the sausage is made, okay? Maybe a day in the life of Bamboo Village, okay? How exactly it works, how exactly you train the women, how exactly they do what they do, okay, right? And then within there, the message of, and with additional funding, so this is what we're able to achieve now, today. But with additional funding, we'd be able to do X, Y, and Z. So with that one video, that one story you're sharing, you're proving that we're having impact, that what you're doing is working. You're telling the donor, we're already doing stuff. It's not just, we hope to do this, we want to do it, not just aspirational language. We're already achieving stuff. And with your support, we can achieve more. Okay, again, the wall of suspicion coming down, like now I believe they're doing stuff. And so all you need is this money or that money to continue to broaden and deepen your efforts. I think that's that increases your chances of winning them over, of persuading them like, okay, now I can see it. You brought it to life. You've persuaded me. You've convinced me, you know? And so that's what I mean about being like that strategic with your communications content. Is let's really think through what exactly we need and why we need it and how we're going to do it. Okay? Okay? Okay, hey, before we go, can we take a group photo, please?
Okay, sure.
Can everyone turn on the cameras, please? Cool. Here, wait, let me, how do set up the view? Ah, the gallery. Good, good, good. All right. Anyone else going to join the photo? All right, let me take a few then, okay? Ready? I'll take 3 or 4 photos, okay? Just to make sure all the eyes are open. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Hold on. Let me keep going. Just a minute. Thank you for your patience. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Wait a minute. I've taken lots of photos where eyes were closed, and that drives me crazy. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. All right, maybe that's enough. I think we probably got it. All right. All right. Thank you very much for your time today. Oh, there was something. Tony, you want to add something?
Yes, I just want to ask if anyone has any feedback that you want to give, because it's
please.
important also. It's not just about listening, it's about also giving feedback.
Yeah.
Because Michael speaking the whole time, it's quite unfair for all of us to just be quiet, especially if we're learning something. So just maybe less than 5 minutes, quick feedback so we can call it a day.
Please go ahead. How about greatest lesson learned for you guys?
If we refuse to go, I just start calling names one at a time. Okay, Faye, Tommy, what? Please go ahead.
All right. Can everybody hear me?
Yes,
I
no.
can hear you.
All right. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Michael, for this wonderful session. So it's more like a repeat for me because yes, we had a similar session like this on Saturday, and of course it was eye-opening for us. And let me just say, most of the things you told us on Saturday, we started implementing it even now. So, and coming into Durian, I'd say this training is very, very handy for me right now because coming in, I came in and I met a lot of programs, a lot of projects that we need to set up, we need to start running. And some of them are running already. We just need to, give them more push and give them more strength. So I would say this training is something that actually came in handy for me. So, and of course, I find it very, very helpful. So I've been able to note some of the things that I will take note of even as I go out in field and reach out to some other volunteers. A lot of things. I can't really say everything here, but all I can say is that this particular training is very, very handy for me particularly. So thank you very much, sir.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Quick one to Onyi, for instance. Onyi, let's go. What's your feedback on the training, Onyi? Quick one, quick one, quick one, quick one.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
I am.
We cannot hear you. You can close a bit or you speak out. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Michael. You really impart much knowledge.
Oh, it's hard to hear. I couldn't quite hear that. What was that, please? Could you repeat that, please?
A bit closer because there's a problem because everyone is around the same area. It is connecting. It's like the sounds are connecting. It's like a radio, you know. So
Yeah.
can you come a bit closer so that we can hear you?
Thank you very much, Mr. Michael. Yes, ma'am, I am.
Go ahead, please.
I said thank you very much, Mr. Michael.
My pleasure.
Much knowledge in this. Thank you.
I'm happy to help if I can.
All right. Switch over to Michael or Emmanuel. Any one of you? Quick.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Yeah, this is my first time of attending something like this, and I really learned a lot from it. So as a data person, I've learned on how to use data, to write stories. So, and I hope with time I'll learn more and improve in my story writing.
Good. Good, because you know what? These skills, it's not just for an organization like Durian, but actually these are important skills for whatever career you choose in the future too, because we all are under pressure to prove our impact, ultimately to prove our results. So the question is how to do it with evidence, ultimately.
All right, thank you, sir.
Emmanuel, do you want to say something?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Jordan. Concerning writing about the organization, you told us that not just writing alone, but by showing evidence. You know that we're just like, maybe sometimes I'll just write something, but there's no evidence to show. But after today's meeting, and I think that by any story you tell, you have to show evidence. Like the two type of audience you told us, you say we have the one of cheap, and we have those who are very skeptical.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Now there are some people who are so critical to ask that this thing you are doing, where are the evidence? And now, I can say that whatever things I do now in this organization, I will try to take down something, maybe a picture or audio as evidence, so that I can show to people what I've been able to learn, or the kind of training I've given to people, so that they can be convinced enough if they want to be part of the program, or they have any other things to add to the program. By showing them evidence, I think there is this say that seeing is believing. By giving them evidence, they will be able to like contribute positively to whatever things I'm doing in the organization. Thank you so very much, and God bless you.
Thank you. That's great. That's right. Exactly.
Yes.
Show, don't tell.
Becky,
excellent.
Before it starts raining, it's about to rain here, Michael. So it's
okay.
The weather is completely.
Okay. Go. No problem.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Jordan. I did learn a lot, and I'm thinking about it a lot also, how it's going to work for our own organization going forward. So I'm thinking about the content on all our social media pages, how it can be better, and how to look more into the current audience that we have and how to work with that. So thank you, sir.
My pleasure. Not just better, but persuasive. How to be more persuasive, to persuade the audience, to convince the audience. Okay? That's high-level communications right there, is to convince them. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Sure. Thank you. And anyone else?
Because it's about to rain, I guess everyone is conscious of the weather because really getting
Right
stormy.
on. Go, go, go.
But
I don't want to get
thank you
caught.
so much for your time. I hope that we can have one more training on writing so that we can go deep into details.
Okay. Sounds
All right.
great. Okay. See you
you.
all. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you again. See you all.